Q&A at the end of all of the readings. And let me close this noisy phone. Do you have any questions before we get started? Okay, looks like we're good to go. Sounds okay. All right. Margaret said we would introduce ourselves, but I'm going to slightly introduce Margaret to most of you already know who she is. Her reputation is international, and it's an honor to share the table with her and with Eduardo. So, Margaret, why don't you do what you can? There we go.
Okay. Good. Well, first of all, I want to thank the library for having us here today. Libraries are so important, especially now. They're kind of the repositories or the last line of free thinking and exchange and so forth, which is being so attacked in our country today. And I want to thank all of you for coming, especially Jay, who is a friend of Eduardo's and flew in from Burlington, Vermont just for this. So I think that deserves some applause. And I want to say just a few words briefly about this Margaret Randall poetry series. I'm so honored that Zach Hively at Caso Raca Books in northern New Mexico established this series. And this is the first year, and the first two books, which are the first book is by Eduardo, and he'll be reading from it. It's got this wonderful cover. The name of the book is El Vuelo Interminable, The Never-Ending Flight. And then Dodici's book, which is a terrific book as well, is the second in the series. And each spring, two of these books will come out. I think that Zach just designed a lovely cover, and the little logo of the series is by my wife, Barbara, who's sitting over there. So this is really a family affair. I'm going to be reading from my new book, The Calendar's Whim, and I'll just start reading. So this first poem is called In the Words. If we reference biblical prophecy rather than human compassion, will settler colonialism pass for neighborly enclaves? If we choose the term victim, not aggressor, can we justify the murder of 17,000 children? If we remember the Holocaust without also remembering that survivors become perpetrators when revenge overpowers pain, and call it righteous instead of genocide, will the goat herder of Ramallah ever sing to his flock again? This one is called Right Where You Hid It, to keep it safe. Grab your coat, said the phantom in your dream. It's cold where we're going. The words rattle the inner walls of your skull long after waking. Other lessons and warnings contradict that crack shot piercing the border between sleep and the busyness of day. You know it's getting warmer fast in all the most dangerous places when Greenlanders speak of young ice too late in the season. Unlike the dictators of these times, nature obeys not only money but loss of memory, and all the magicians have lost their jobs. Direction no longer holds meaning. The words next year or before your grandchild reaches her first birthday have succumbed to our sad indifference. The voice in your dream doesn't belong to a ghost, but to your conscience, temporarily lost, then rediscovering itself, marking time, right where you tried to keep it safe. Heirloom seeds. I plant the heirloom seeds, loving hands stored from generation to generation, expected fruit more succulent and sweeter than those strawberries from the fields of Irapuato, appearing on my computer screen the moment my credit card registers a purchase of anything red. After buying a pair of Levi's online, for weeks I get alluring offers of every brand, stretch, new, distressed, pre-faded or ripped at the knee, produced in sweatshops from Taiwan to Oshkosh. A simple perusal of kitchen knives floods my inbox with steel of every cutting edge and strength. The heirloom seeds refuse to sprout in a world where water has lost its fight for survival and the calendar promises hate instead of spring. They prefer to wait underground until those who plant and hope to reap change the direction of prevailing winds by refusing to dig such early graves. Tomorrow. Tomorrow avoids our eyes and shrugs her shoulders when we ask too much of her. She's never really liked her name, would have preferred something less pretentious, better suited to these times. I admit, I enjoy teasing the word that keeps me in suspense each night and surprises me with every welcome sunrise. Two can play this game. I will ignore her threats and take her irony in stride. For now, I just say, come on tomorrow. At this late date, don't try to fool me with your silly games. The footprints you leave. I don't know your name, but place my feet in the footprints you leave in fragile desert soil. I've never seen your face, but slip my arms through the sleeves of your favorite shirt when winter cold threatens. I don't always understand your accent or even your language, but your story gave me a beginning and a middle inherited from women throughout time. I know the ending is up to me. This poem sweats in summer, its skin a cascade of itches displayed, then discarded and fooling no one. In winter cold, it wraps mother's threadbare coat about its shivering shoulders. No words sound through its chattering teeth. Desperate in any season to create a language that will bring attention to its secrets, it babbles incoherently. Speaking louder won't earn it a place in anthologies or memorization by students regurgitating the lesson of the day. Neither will a whisper consign it to that field of shame where secrets go to die. I console myself with the dream of a great-grandchild when I'm long gone, finding it stuck between the pages of an ancient book, one fashioned of paper, not digital zeros and ones, and reading it silently as they breathe the pure air of release, smile, and make a choice that will change their life. And I'm going to close with a poem that I wrote this past week. So it's pretty new, pretty raw. It's called Cesar Chavez Rides Again. The lady with the scales is weary of this story, tired of weighing a man's revered leadership against his rape of 12-year-old girls, coerced to keep his secrets. She abdicates judging a history of field workers harvesting lettuce and grapes, wooed by his humble demeanor and pious faith. 30 years beyond his death, those girls, now women, speak. And I, like the figure of justice, am left juggling the crime of another hero with forked tongue.
Hmm.
Thank you. So,
Okay,
who's going to read now, you or?
no, Eduardo.
Eduardo, great, okay.
Okay.
Well,
Eduardo. Hi, Eduardo. Are you ready to go?
I am ready to go.
Okay.
Well, good afternoon to everybody. First, I want to thank Margaret, Randall, and Zach Hively for having chosen the never-ending flight to launch the poetry series that honors Margaret's literary journey in life. Special thanks, Zach, for coming up with the idea for this Casa Urraca Press series. It's my honor today to be presenting this book alongside Margaret and D.Azpadu, the author of Cloak, the second book in this series. I also want to thank my dear friend Jay Canning, who's come all the way from Burlington, Vermont, to be present, and I authorized him to sign books in my name. Also, thanks to all those who join us via Zoom from different parts of the world, including the States. Now, I'd like to share how my book came to fruition. For years, I'd been wanting to draft my autobiography. Suddenly, in August of 2024, I found myself writing poems, the first I had ever written. I'd wake up in the middle of the night with a verse, an idea, a pre-configuration, and jot it down. By the end of the year, I had written more or less 120 poems. I didn't know if they were any good. So I reached out to Susana Schwark, an established Argentine poet who I knew, to get a critical opinion. That led to weekly meetings in a cafe near her home. While reviewing them, I began to put together those I noted were related to the most tragic and traumatic life experience I had gone through, which took place 47 years ago. It was a commercial airline crash in the Andean Mountains, where my first wife, Liliana, died, and I suffered spinal cord injury. We were on our honeymoon trip. That is when my never-ending flight took off. Although it had really begun a year and a half before, as foretold in the coffee grounds. You will learn about this in the book and actually in a minute or so. In several poems, there are references to those who are no longer among us. However, when mentioned, they are present. No one dies if they are remembered. I will read a few of my poems in their English and Spanish versions. Why? Simply because they were conceived in either language or bilingually at the same time. Since my early childhood, I have navigated both languages. It's curious how my mind works. People have asked me, in which do you dream? Well, it really depends on who I summon. Sometimes I believe I even dream stereophonically in both languages. As I wrote these poems, I immediately translated them, and a dialogue ensued between both versions. I trust I have managed to express my feelings in a tempo that reflects the music in each. I would like you to hear that as I read. Let's start with the first poem, conceived in English. It's named To Bore. Dare to live or to die, drilling through his mind. The answer would arrive implicit at each awakening. The title in Spanish is Horadar. Osar vivir o morir lo taladraba. La respuesta llegaría implícita al despertar. The following poem was conceived bilingually. It gave birth to the book's title, Coffee Grounds. Foretold in the coffee grounds, too horrific to share. With an inkling of doubt, we flew, joyous celebration, till death do us apart. Crash landing. In the pitch dark night, the cold rain brought some back to life. Are you there? Is she there? No one breaks the silence of those gone. Immobile, the pitch dark night. A wailing pain stores a knot that can't be wrenched till death rejoin us. Dubious life untied in the afterlife of this never-ending flight. In Spanish, the title is Borra de Café. Predicho en la borra del café, temible para ser dicho, con la duda flotando, volamos, alegre celebración, hasta que la muerte nos separe. Aterrizaje fallido, en la oscuridad de la noche, la fría lluvia reanimó a algunos. ¿Estás ahí? ¿Está ahí? Nadie rompe el silencio de quienes ya no están. Inmóvil, la oscuridad de la noche. Aullido de dolor almacena un nudo que no puede ser desgarrado hasta que la muerte nos reúna. Dudosa vida desatada en el más allá, en este vuelo interminable. The poem that follows was conceived bilingually. It's named Liliana. The harrowing fear of oblivion, not knowing if she willed or not. Did I will to cover her silence? Till death do us part, till death rejoin us. Munch's scream echoes night and day. El temor amenazante de olvido, sin saber si gimió o no. Gemí para cubrir su silencio, hasta que la muerte nos separe, hasta que la muerte nos reúna. El grito de Munch reverbera día y noche. The next poem, Borderline, was also conceived bilingually. In the wretched, cold night, fearing for his life, he heard clothes plucked for warmth. The most helpless became the most destitute. In his pit of solitude, silence would save him from humanity at its crossroads. The title in Spanish is Al Límite. En la desdichada noche helada temió por su vida, escuchó ropa arrancada en busca de calor. Los más desvalidos se convertían en los más desahuciados. En su pozo de soledad, el silencio lo salvaría de la humanidad en su encrucijada. The next poem, Odds, was conceived in Spanish. Alive by chance, misfortune hued his nights and days, unable to pay for the life that departed. In Spanish, the title is El Azar. Vive por casualidad. La tragedia tiñó sus noches y días, incapaz de pagar por la vida que partió. Alchemy was conceived in English. Reward? Who knows? No option forthcoming with life on a thread. Clueless, in the deepest night, knitting an undestined dream. Rooted in obstinacy, befitting a madman, certainty is a merciless deathbed. The Spanish version is Alquimia. Renací, quién sabe. Sin opción conocida, la vida pendía, sin pista alguna, en la noche más profunda, tejiendo un sueño no destinado. Enraizado en obstinación propia de un demente, la certeza es un lecho mortal despiadado. Attuned was conceived in Spanish. He pictured himself with her, wheelchaired like him, intertwined, unabashed, bodies in complicit play, not a hint of fear. In Spanish, en sintonía. Se imaginaba con ella, silla rodante como él, entrelazados, desvergonzados, jugando los cuerpos cómplices, sin temor. Nothingness was conceived in Spanish. Walker she, wheelchaired he, reuniting, saved them from oblivion. In Spanish, de la nada. Caminante ella, silla rodante él, el reencuentro lo salvó de la nada. Other Ways was also conceived in Spanish. Shivering at the imminence, her dry sex, the vertigo of shame welcomed other ways to love. In Spanish, it's called Otras Formas. estremecida por lo inminente, su sexo seco, el vértigo de la vergüenza invitaba a otras formas de amor. Paralysis was also conceived in Spanish. Fearful of life, death awaits. Fearful of death, meaningless life. Parálisis. Atemorizado de vivir, la muerte acecha. Atemorizado de morir, la vida sin sentido. The poem that completes the book was conceived bilingually. The title is Passing. Harsh and gentle, life goes on. In Spanish, devenir. Áspera y suave, la vida sigue. Thank you all. Muchas gracias.
Okay. Thank you, Eduardo. Thank you, Margaret. Zach, is that you? No, no, that's not Zach. His name was there. Okay. Welcome to all of you. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all who are on the, nope. I just blotted that out. I'm not really allowed to touch this machine. Can you see the screen?
No, click back at Zoom.
Click out on that.
I
No, the red one up
Red.
there. The red one, yeah, click on it. And then click on the red one on this one. Let me do it.
I'm not really allowed to touch the computer or go to a stationary store unsupervised.
Okay, now I don't know how to get
Okay,
back.
we'll get back up here.
Click on the icon. You should be able to get back to all the Zoom.
Click on the icon, Zoom. There we go. All right. I'm not going to touch anything else. Ah. Okay, some of the poems I'll read have time and place markers from the mid-20th century, East Coast. For example, welfare was called home relief in the late 40s, maybe later than that. The white metal table I'll be mentioning shortly was ubiquitous in the 40s and 50s. The culture of silence in Sicily is called omerta. Finally, I want to note that in New York State, maybe in other states as well, I can't be sure, the law required a person to wear at least 3 pieces of clothing assigned to their birth sex. And how did that work out? Okay, this first one is from the section of the book called Paper Trail. Silvio in cinnamon suit and fedora walks from Red Hook projects to work at Moonshine. He plays piano in a brownstone. Madam in a feather boa collects money at the door of the parlor floor and serves watered down drinks, poses girls for dancing or for coupling in rooms upstairs. Silvio's hairless brown chest uncovered. He sits at the white metal table with self-storing leaves. Is the screen okay? Okay, it's jumping around here. I'll just ignore it. Silvio, hairless brown chest uncovered. He sits at the white metal table with self-storing leaves. In a drawer for utensils is a deck of cards. His father's Beretta, with its silencer, is part of the table setting. In a handheld grill, Silvio's presumptive wife turns meat over the gas stove flame. Their barefoot children stop playing under the table and move stone figures around his pointy-toed butterscotch shoes. A mysterious taciturn man. Some say he choked to death on a bone. The Garot story came after the Beretta moved to the next generation. Silvio's widow rocks in her chair every day at the iron lattice window in a South Brooklyn basement flat. Ladies' Oxfords, heavy stockings, long black coats pass by. Gianna's worldview. She lives on home relief and money her daughters secret to her. She speaks Sicilian, not Italian, very little English. She is free to go outside, but seldom does. Her wraparound house dress hides a pocket full of pistachios. The shells, dyed red from Atlantic Avenue Arab vendors, stain her fingers, the palm of her curled fist, the shape of her frown. This one is called Ancestor Hash. Gianna obscures ancestors I eventually track out of a hash of questions I struggle with, her cultural suspicions about telling anyone anything. When I access the 1950 census, I imagine a woman in a gray gabardine suit with papers on her lap, shy of resting her arms on the kitchen oilcloth. Exhausted by contradictions, the census taker gives up asking the illiterate old lady to name and number who lives in her house. She leaves the garlic-infested basement for me to puzzle over long dead relatives who could not have been living at Gianna's home relief address. Does she understand enough English to answer questions properly? Or does she equivocate to confuse the information taker, the next best thing to silence? This one is called Old, Old Country. Born in Bedonia, Lucia, my father's mother, was not Sicilian, simply the bearer of more Arab ancestry from another branch of a cloaked lineage. A scallop-edged photograph of her guinea features goes missing from a pile spread on a table at the end of a funeral and burial day. A brother and I remember seeing it, handling it, studying it. A sister-in-law removes the clarity to spare her children, I'm guessing, to whom the truth will be born later. Okay. We're still in Paper Trail, and this is the title poem of that section. A man and woman claim me on other birth records. On the original watermarked paper, I come alone. A name foreign to me, sex assigned equally foreign. No small footprint stains other documents or adds indelible burdens I am given. Folding phrase certainty, words are fickle, tell outright lies, confuse, distort, hint. I parse them every day and will never have the last one. This one is called If You Must Speak. Say American when asked nationality. Some countries of origin never mention. Every family has its hierarchy of ancestors, remembers half-truths, invents, omits, imagines, justifies. Some forgetting is forever. Some itches until bloodlines flow. Unlearn a mother's first language forbidden at home and a father's adopted one. The firstborn of this strategy grew up a foot in each grave. Now I am the truth I see fit. This one is called Yogi. Yogi is the patriarch of my generation. That is my father. You were a taciturn man carrying a spade on your shoulder, a handgun on your belt, and you regularly killed your limit of whatever was in season. You walked a familiar wood for the last time with a feeble Labrador whose long companionship you could not let a stranger's needle terminate. The dog retched near the ground where you dug, but you no longer checked his sickness for blood. You tucked his sleeping blanket into the wide, deep hole. Did he come as cold, obedient to the grave? I see you knee-deep in the earth, stretching to cradle and pull him in, curled at your feet before the coup de grace. This is from the section of the book called Indigestible Memories. It's the title poem of the book, Cloak. Remember the thrill of a man's jacket, of arms slipping into the sleeves and fitting over a female body, wool heavy enough to disguise a camisole against your skin, a magic cloak to fly you to your country. Add a tie, smartly nodded. Practice before a mirror behind closed doors and step into the world if you dare. Leave home. Eventually, you dressed as you pleased. Laws changed, and men's overcoats on women became a fashion statement, not an identity. Cross-dressing did not cover who wore the clothes, did not make the man or the woman, could not hide the physical contradictions. Being the problem, no wardrobe would correct without drastic alterations. That even so would not shroud the whole buried in the body. Okay, we're getting near the end. This one is indigestible memories from the section called indigestible memories. Eating alone in a fast food dive, long gone indigestible memories. Mouth and belly stuffed, 5 fries at a time. What did I think nostalgia would taste like? Given the age of my stomach and intestines? Listen, tender creature, weathering miles of loneliness, 1 foot in front of another. Nothing happened between miles of feeding, except temperature-controlled places to rest. Listen, tender one, dragged through heart slums you deserved better for lighting the way here. And this is the last one I'll read. It's from a section called Good Life in Hard Times. From an ancestral birth cry, I made a habit of woe, protecting inherited disgrace. I retired all of it in these historic mesas and canyons. Nature aging in place with me, and a woman I'd dreamed fitting me with her own scars, both delivered to healing enchantment late in life, embarrassing change of fortune, living well given the backstory odds. Thank you.
I think we have time for some Q&A if you're interested. And I'd also like to say that I don't know if I should say this, but so we'll be out in the parking lot.
Oh, yeah, we can say that.
Yeah. So it's not possible to sell books in here, but we have brought a very few copies of our books, and we will be selling them outside.
Out of our trunks.
Out of the trunks of our cars, yeah. So should we turn this into a conversation? Does anyone have any comments or questions?
And Eduardo, you can handle the online questions as they come in, if you would.
Fine, fine.
Oh.
Whoever wants to make a comment or a question, raise your hand and you have it under reaction. Okay, that's Sam. Why don't you go ahead?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes, no.
we can
Okay.
hear you.
Okay, I just wanted to say a couple of things. Number one, Eduardo, I'm speaking to Eduardo specifically, but all of you as well. Eduardo, your poems and your emotions are incredible and very, very moving. But I just want to say that what you said has been with us, with Daniel, Olga, Carlos, Jay, myself, and all of us who were your closest supporters and friends. I just want to close with something that I always tell Eduardo, and that is what has guided your path is very, very important to me and you, I know, which is hasta la victoria siempre. Thank you.
Gracias.
Anyone
Gracias.
else?
Uh, Is someone on the Zoom wanting to make a comment? Any hands up there? Okay, oh, please, Joel.
I'm Jay. I just wanted to make the comment, Sam, thank you for what you said. I wanted to make the comment, it is maybe puzzling why I went to the effort to be here today, and I wanted to, by way of explanation, say simply that because Eduardo could not be here in person, I wanted to honor him and be here. And it's as simple as that.
Great. Thank you.
Celia,
Thank you.
thank you, Jay. Celia, you raised your hand. Why don't you speak?
Yes, hi everybody. Hola primo, Eduardo. So thankful to be able to join all of you, and thank you, Eduardo, for inviting me. So I have a question for you, Eduardo. So I'm also a poet, and I write in Spanish, I write in English, and I write in Spanglish. And I wanted to ask you, do you plan in which language you will write, or does it come spontaneously?
It comes spontaneously. There's no plan. I would actually say there is no plan, perhaps in any of the poems I've written. Some, they were like ideas that I jotted down, perhaps at 3, 4 in the morning. And I said, I want to write about this. And then I'd sit at the computer and write. That's the most planning that went into it. Language-wise, I really don't know. When I say some poems were written bilingually, it's because some words came to me in Spanish and other words came to me in English. And that's the way I wrote them. But I don't feel comfortable with writing in Spanglish. I see that you do. And what I did is I just produced a version in Spanish and a version in English. And when I referred to a dialogue between both languages, once I had it in one language, that language began to speak with the version in the other language, and there would be change of words. I don't know if to call it syntax, but the order of verses. But there was no planning.
Sounds familiar.
I jump in there for a minute because I write in English, but I translate from the Spanish. And I lived many, many years, almost a quarter of a century, speaking Spanish. I lived in Latin America. So for me, there are certain subjects that come to me in one language and certain subjects that come in the other. For example, I became politicized in Latin America. So when I am talking about politics or having a conversation about politics, I'm much more comfortable speaking in Spanish than in English. But I'm more comfortable speaking about art and poetry in English. So, for me, it's been like that. It's had a lot to do with the themes and the moment in my life in which it comes up.
Let me add something to what you just said, Margaret. I realize that when I'm really angry about something and I have to cuss, I do it in English. And Sylvia, who's here, can attest to that.
Okay, anybody in the house wish to make a comment
I just
or
want to make another comment.
Go.
of mine, that I'm glad that those ideas come to you at 3 and 4 in the morning, and let's hear it for the late bloomers in our amongst us.
amen to that? Yeah. Viola, please.
Both Margaret and Eduardo and Dodici, I have to say, it is just such a gift to be able to sit here and hear these poems. In a world that seems insane, you bring a kind of beauty and order to it, for which I am really grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Viola. Thank you.
That's interesting that you say that, and it's very reassuring to me because I feel that my poems, especially lately in the past several years, are very dark. And so, they reflect what I feel about what's going on and my anger. So I'm happy to know that you feel that they bring some kind of order.
Yes, well, because you name what I'm feeling.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Please, Ola.
Sure. I am an author, and I just want to thank everyone online and in this room for being here on this beautiful day. And what amazes me, especially about Dodici, is, because I read your memoir that was written before from the last book reading that we had. And I love poetry, but I am unable, I write a memoir, to be able to go from memoir to poetry. I just can't write poetry. So I'm very, very, how can I say, enchanted by artists, writers that can just move from memoir into another genre of writing, because I can't do it. So I just love hearing it. I thank you so much again, everyone.
You're welcome. Thank you. What you're calling memoir is a recent novel called Dead of Winter. Is that the one you're speaking of?
It was the one that took place in Brooklyn, where we're from, about the funeral.
Yeah.
Oh, that's living room.
Oh, that's living room.
Yeah.
That's living room. Oh, okay. Okay. That will be available for purchase, but not until April in Hamus Springs, unless you want to come up and do the hot tub routine there. But I will have that. It's apparently not available except used at some ridiculous price, which happens occasionally, but I have inventory, so. Does anyone else wish to comment or speak? I love your smiles. Thank you so much. I think we're good to go.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Eduardo.
You're welcome, and thank you all. Thank you, Dodici. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you, Zach, for making this possible. And actually thank everybody, those I see via Zoom and those who I know are present there, physically present. This means a lot to me. My heart is with you.
And mine with you
Like,
and Sylvia.
right, and
It was
thank
great
you,
to see you.
Maria, I'm sorry. And Maria and Cecilia, who backed us up the whole way. Thank you,
That's
thank you,
right,
thank you.
Maria and Cecilia. That's right.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye all.